We're here.
We are here. World of Controversy Podcast. This is your boy J Rob with
Germ Twix.
with our guest
Jason.
Jason.
Yes. It is episode 10. We're about halfway through season 1. I'm excited. Rob, what you talking about?
All right, this is a good one. So we're going to be talking about China Anne McClain's her little Instagram live when she's talking about like Black Lightning season 4 getting canceled. Her not going to be in the season the whole time. Her calling for God. And we're going to talk about this killing off of black superheroes because our superheroes are gone, man. They don't last long, as you can see.
No, they don't. No, they do not. Some apologies to start off the show. I know the last episode, some of the audio was a little difficulty. No, y'all did not hit the Matrix. That was a person with a dog. So we were recording at Condell Park, but a very important episode indeed. Rob?
Yes, some apology. And another apology for me. You know, I said I cursed 2 times in that episode, so I do apologize. I am human, so I am still working on that part. But don't get twisted.
Don't judge.
I don't curse all the time, okay?
No,
Not like that. That one just slipped out.
Only when we're talking about Bill Gates. Okay, so we got really good guests today. A really good guest. I've been excited. He's been excited. Rob's been excited, and we've been here just chatting it up. Jason, how are you feeling today?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to jump into this. We got a lot to talk about, so I'm just let Jules just take this home.
Oh, let's take it home. All right. So, sorry guys. So, as you all may know, China Anne McClain, and some of y'all may not know, but she did an Instagram live video. She talked about, you know, the season 4 of Black Lightning and how it's being canceled. And let me tell y'all, it's amazing they even made it to season 4.
Right.
Because most shows, especially black superheroes, will not even make it that far.
That's true.
But, listen, she was real upset, not just because the season was canceling, but she even said before, she's leaving the show. She was leaving the show. She's not going to be in the full season. She's leaving. She wants to do God's work. She said she even got some independent works that she is doing herself. Jason, what you think about that?
So I took the privilege of going into the video and looking into what it had to say, and it was an Instagram live that she dropped regarding just leaving the show, and she seemed to be in a lot of pain in this video, and a lot of the content had to do with the fact that she had nothing against anyone in the show. She enjoyed her time for the time being, but there was almost this tone of regret, as though she was wasting her time, and then she kind of kept going back and forth to this vague idea of, I'm going to do the Lord's work now. Not to like poke jabs at her, and online I'm hearing a lot of different types of feedback with respect to the fact that she did just leave the show, and coincidentally almost, I'm not sure if it's a coincidence, the show was canceled right after. But then, you know, a lot of people are really upset because we're really used to seeing a lot of like black faces be on TV, but not all of them in a positive light. And so shows like Black Lightning are extremely important. But in the context of where she was at, I feel like a lot of people would kind of put her in a position where they would say, oh, you're just talking this up. Oh, you're just, you know, doing a soap opera.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm doing this thing for the Lord and to your works. But personally, I would like to advocate for what it's like to grow up under the spotlight and also have to battle with a very, demanding industry while also trying to preserve things that you've been passed down. And you can see this time and time again with celebrities. They will come up, they'll be just fine, and then they go off in this really bad like cycle. Like Britney Spears cut her hair off, like, you know, Justin Bieber got kicked out of the US for a little bit for whatnot, man. Like,
I do remember
growing up under the spotlight has a lot of pressure, and for her to have done it and do it fairly well, in my opinion, and also trying to preserve her faith, I respect her, and I respect her decision to leave the show for what she believes is in her best interest. Not that she's been like giving any disrespect towards the cast, and she said she was very good with the cast, but she also almost preferenced that she was only close with a handful of people. Correct. What do you guys think about that?
I'm gonna let you go first.
I mean, as we already talked, I mean, at the beginning of the live was very performative. I mean, and you know, she got the baldy now. She almost looking like a, you know, what I mean, whatever on her porch. But more power to her. I actually grew up looking at China Anne McClain. China Anne McClain is House of Pain. Ant Farm was horrible, but more power to her. Daddy's Little Girl. So I think Daddy's Little Girls was arguably kind of a Christian movie too, right? Or
it was Tyler
Perry, right? So we already know how he rolls. So China Anne McClain, her vibe already, I feel like wasn't quite as out there or as worldly as others, but this just kind of solidified that yes,
she's leaving the secular world.
She's leaving the secular world. There is a higher power in her life that she's really letting lead her life. This woman, China Anne McClain, really she's not a little girl anymore. She can make any decision she wants. She may be playing like younger people on roles, but she gotta be what, 22, 20?
She's 22.
She's like 22
She's like
now.
about our age.
She's on the CW's Black Lightning, which, you know, as we're going to talk about, isn't like a show that no one knows. This is a show that people not only know, but there's references to. It's an important show for people who like superheroes, period, but also black superheroes and people playing superhero roles being African American. China Anne McClain is making this decision because she's now supposedly surrendering her life, her career to follow God. And to be honest, I can't say nothing but condone her. I'm very blessed to say that I think this actually might be more important than all 4 or 5 seasons of the show combined. That this young lady would go out of her way and follow God's calling. So yeah.
Amen.
I want to almost just jump right in just to like kind of wrap up what you were saying about like she's had a career in a spotlight, but not even in a distinctly secular light. And if anything, her role in Black Lightning has been the most secular role she has played.
Wow,
I would agree with
she
that.
grew up in Tyler Perry's works. Tyler Perry almost exclusively has religious undertones in his work, even if, you know, a lot of the episodes, CJ at the fire department, so on and so forth, this and the third, and their mom was on drugs, and just the, almost the dramatization of like the black story and the black narrative with respect to the black church and what that does to such a narrative. But now here she is in a different space in a different time, and now she's leaving that space. She's leaving that world, the industry, to seek after her faith. Do you think it was sincere, or do you think it's any of our business to even be commenting on the sincerity of something that only God knows?
I'm going to take this one. All right. So here's the thing, and I agree with you. Black Lightning is her most secular role. Watching the show, watching what she did, I'm like, whoa, you changed the narrative from that sweet little girl to playing that little teenager. Oh, I do what I want. Well, kind of not like that. But that teenager in the secular world, because the peer pressure's there. She's in a relationship, got a little boyfriend.
Really.
And that's so.
I don't even watch the show.
See, word?
Yeah, I don't
You are a disgrace.
We're gonna get to that.
You are a disgrace to black people. But
we're gonna get to that.
Let's get back. She had a little boyfriend. There was episodes where she was smoking.
What? Oh man.
So they went through the spectrum of, how do you get through I don't want to say terrible twos, but terrible teens, get through that almost rebellious phase of just hey, my parents love me, they care about me, my parents are separated, how does that affect me? Now I'm looking at this dude, and then now he originally was this really nice guy, right?
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen anything, but he was this really nice guy, and then he actually got into an accident, but then one of the villains actually gave him this operation that would cause him to be able to get his abilities back, but in return he was starting to get into some shady business.
Oh.
Because originally his track career was compromised by his injury, but now he wasn't. But the thing is, for him to continue to have this thing in him, like the artificial spine or whatever, he would need to continue to be working with these shady characters and shady individuals, and her not allegiance, but her being drawn to this man in this context is part of like, say, like, you know, the narrative. And you could say that it's not too different from, say, like the type of storytelling that she's been in, although this is much less that it's a story. And I think this is kind of a good place for us to segue into like, why is this important that she was on the show, or why is the show in and of itself important as a story revolving around Black people, for Black people, by Black people?
Right.
Because I'm gonna say this. First of all, most of the stuff you see in there, besides from the friction part, a lot of stuff is what you see happening today. You can translate what's going on. You got crooked politicians. They use certain people, pay them off, do whatever. You know. You got all these different, like, how you say, gang lords doing what they do, you know, money, power, you know, respect from the streets. And a lot of gang lords do got some of them politicians in them.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I ain't gonna go into no names or anything, because I think we know some. I think I sit here and know somebody that's a politician that's in one of them gang lords, but we ain't gonna go.
Yeah, I'm gonna sip my tea on that.
Sip my tea. Now, as for her live Instagram video, right? As you said, is this really sincere, or is she doing for publicity? Now, God knows, right?
Correct.
God knows the heart. Now, another thing is, the Bible talks about having fruit of the Spirit, right? So you will know if this is your brother and sister in Christ because they produce fruit.
You will know them by their fruit. Yeah.
Yep. And also, the Bible does talk about try every spirit.
Okay.
Yes, so you have to try these spirits. You can't just say, oh, just because they say they're Christian, just because they say they follow Christ. You will know when you see the fruits that's in them.
Could I challenge you for a second?
Challenge me. Go ahead.
All right, so you're just saying you have to try them, you have to test them by what the fruits, but then it also says, like, let no man say this or that without keeping in mind the Lord. So, like, you know, people say, like, oh, this is going to happen tomorrow, like, if the Lord will, so on and so forth. And we need to almost humble ourselves to the fact that the Lord knows and we do not. And in respect to the idea of, like, oh, does she have fruit, does she have not fruit? Will you not call her live the fruit? Because such a declaration has compromised her career, period. Being Christian is not pretty anymore.
No,
Being Christian is not popular anymore. And it seems as though we're kind of entering into this time and space where to stand for the Lord is to stand against some things that would be more pluralistic and more accepted. And you would actually cause yourself to become an outlier. And being Christian, just like it was in the first 300 years of the church, you will be marginalized for a belief that contradicts and opposes the norm of culture.
You're right. Now, let me check this a little further with this timing. Now, why did she do the live when we already know the show over? Why did she do that? I was questioning that. Yo.
Hold on. Because not a lot of people knew that show was getting canceled. I mean,
I'm not sure. I can't think of a good reason. I fought that over and over. Even as she was talking, almost a temptation to kind of skip past a little bit, like, all right, yeah, like you're kind of going in circles respectfully, but that's not. It wasn't scripted. That was her. It didn't seem scripted, and I think the raw messiness of it, not to like disrespect China Anne McClain, but the messiness of that declaration of hers, it was confusing. Like, why would you say this after the fact? It almost seems as though you're trying to throw jabs and shots without throwing jabs and shots. I'm not sure if it's her trying to use the position and the timing to get glory for the Lord, in the concept of like, hey guys, let's turn away from these secular things, because these secular things, while they might be nice, while they might be helpful in certain ways, they aren't what the Lord wants us to do. And so for me, I almost challenge that idea, like, is participating in these things completely contradictory to the Lord's work?
Yeah, that's something to think about. Too.
Is there good things that God is going to use through this, even if it's not explicit? Does God have the ability to move through secular mediums? I believe so, yes.
I think so too.
Yes, he does.
Even if the artists don't intend it.
Yes.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And in this case, I'm mainly speaking about representation.
Yeah. I hear you. Now, how important is representation?
Representation is extremely important.
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's
Period.
That's
I said what I said.
I don't know if I'm on the same boat as y'all, but you know,
I'm alright.
I'll
Tell me.
Tell us why. You tell us why.
Representation didn't get us nowhere, man. Come on, y'all.
Representation did not. Did it not?
Name one Jewish show except for the Goldbergs.
I don't really.
Where's their representation?
I'm not really.
Where are their representation?
Well, before we start talking about the importance of representation, I almost want to say the importance of representation kind of comes in the fact that representation for people who do not have advocation, that's where we're in a place. Jews in America do not need any, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I can see, I do not believe they need any significant advocation.
Yeah, he's right.
In this country specifically.
Right,
Jews owns a lot of stuff, man.
And at this point in time, however, in the context of representation for African American and black people, I believe that it's extremely important because, let's not lie, people are affected by the media significantly. And we're going to get into that in a little bit when we start talking about how black faces have been portrayed in the media and how it's been a very up and down. It's not been like, oh, it was bad and then it was good, or it was good and then it was bad. It's a mixed bag, and I really want to get into that.
Oh, man.
There is no pacification
No.
like false representation. And I'm going to try to hold some of my stuff back to the second half of this
What's this
podcast
about false
because I really want to
Yeah,
talk about Black Panther.
Let's talk
But
about.
you know,
Oh, man, we still getting into
the
that.
Puerto Rican boy at Kustown had to break that one down for me. He said, how do you have a black movie written by a black man and subliminally have the CIA character, the white agent boy, help destroy the cause of Michael B. Jordan, who was trying to liberate all black people around the world? The American CIA was in Wakanda in the movie. Check it out. Watch the movie again. The white CIA person came to Africa, and the only thing he did was destroy Michael B. Jordan's plan to liberate all African peoples around the world.
Oh.
And we want to talk about liberation. They're throwing subliminal messages up in there, man. I'm done, yo.
Ho. Let me take this.
Let's
Let me take this.
talk
Let me
it
take
up.
this. Let me take this.
Let's talk it up, yo.
Now you got me started. All right. So you talking about the white man that helped
Yeah.
help
you
him,
all-
right?
so
Because
check out
remember, he.
Want to respect this episode? Yeah, y'all about to go off on a whole.
Hold on. I'm about to shut him down real
All right,
quick.
break me down.
I'm breaking
Break me
down.
down.
Hold on. Wasn't the Wakandans, right? Wakanda people
Yeah.
helped him, right?
Oh,
They
okay.
remember they healed him.
Okay, they did help him.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, so he helped them save Wakanda. Now, also, a lot of that goes into when Africa had all the money, all the
Okay.
resources,
All right.
and what happened? We shared some of our stuff. Remember, what's the guy? Mensu.
Oh yeah, Matsu. Yeah, the richest guy in the world. The
Yup.
African king.
What he did? He helped some of the other lands, right?
Mm.
He gave money, he sold stuff, and what happened? The little colonizer came in and took over. Remember that?
Yeah.
Remember that? So that's our story of Wakanda, the same.
Dang, man. So they put it on screen and black people hollering up and down like we did something. Like, come on now.
Whoa, this is
So you think it's historically accurate?
there's
That's what you say.
there's some historically accurate stuff in there. Even though it's some friction, there's some historical accuracy in there. Now, at the same time, though, Black Panther, why is it so significant to us? Because This is a major black superhero movie. This ain't the first black superhero movie, but this is a major one. This is the big one. And it's coming from a company like Marvel, which is big. Which is big in the comic book world, which is big in the television and movie world.
Can I jump in for a second, brother?
Go ahead, brother. I'm letting you go.
So I'm hearing you're talking about, and I feel like this is where we're kind of slipping into. I almost want to give a lot more attention to the second half. You're talking about Black Panther as a big deal in terms of a cinematic premise where there are black faces. And I would hear these arguments, and I would love these arguments. I love these arguments. And I was talking to my big cousin about this, and he was telling me, Jason, the big deal with Black Panther is that unlike other black faces on superhero movies where it's like we get to be the token, we get to come in and help out a little bit, we get to be the sidekick. This is a movie in a time and space.
He hit what I was going to talk about. He hit what I was going to talk about with the sidekicks now.
So we're not a sidekick. We are the main deal. And honest to goodness, this is a time where not only are we the center of the movie, but in this context, it's the first time I've personally ever seen on the big screen a setting where it's the African, it's the black characters, it's the black civilization, it's the black city that has the valuable thing. We have the best of it. We have the best technology. We have the resources that everybody else wants for a change. We're not begging. We're not starving. We are thriving. That does not. Then that's where I get into representation. We get these token representations, but that feels paramount to an attendance award. You know what I'm saying? And so we don't want to just get like the scraps. We don't want to get but then they put 2 black people in there and the one girl, because then we get summed down to a character, and black people all too often have to be representative of the whole, where in other situations and in other denominations, a lot of other people get to be individuals within their larger cultures. And so with a movie like this, the whole cast of blacks, you actually get to see that black is not this this limited linear thing. It's a spectrum, and not even just so much a spectrum, but there are a lot. It's dynamic, and when you give it space to breathe and be dynamic, I'm black, you're black, we are all black, and there are common denominators within our culture, but I think there's a lot less overlap than, and it's a beautiful thing that there's less overlap than you would want to see, because that means that we are diverse. That means in that diversity we can do much together, right? So I can say I'm black, but I'm not African American. I have bits of my culture. My family's from Haiti. I'm black, but black doesn't have to sound like me. Black doesn't have to look like me. Black doesn't have to dress like me. Black doesn't have to vibe with only one genre of music. That's a whole different episode. We can be black and different. Yeah. And so this movie did a lot of things. And we're going to get into other representation because there's a lot of black faces on television. And a lot of them have been, I would say, have been very constructive. We can talk about all the stuff they just popped on to Netflix. We got Sister. We got Girlfriend. All these. Bro, I love those old. Bro, I love My Wife and Kids.
Oh, yes. That's my stuff. Cool.
Yo, and I would tell you that even though there are more black faces on television now, I do not believe that all of them are going in a positive direction with respect to what we can do. And I have a couple of qualms with the way that, like say for example, a lot of things that are pushed onto BET or some of the reality television, right? And what I was saying earlier, the perpetuation of certain things that keep us viewed as a linear, keep us viewed as this undynamic, unchanging, very simple to box people when we aren't. I'm out here watching Family Matters and stuff. Bro, everyone's a little different. I'm out here watching Moesha. There's a lot of different types of black women. There's a lot of different types of black men. There's a lot of different types of black fathers. There's a lot of different types of black mothers.
Yeah.
Can we get that vibrancy? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And there's even some stuff in some of the Tyler Perry stuff that really depicts us bad too. I gotta say. And I know some stuff he tried to depict in this, like.
Which movies are you referencing specifically?
All the Medea.
All the Medea movies. We got a lot to say about that.
I mean, there's a lot to say about Medea. Because even Tyler Perry, he has
dressed up in a dress and made a franchise.
He got some stuff that kind of makes us look bad a little bit. Now, also, another thing with this Black Panther, though, and I'm going to tell you this. you notice there was no negative like connotation of black people in that movie. You usually see there's a black person that plays either the criminal,
Okay.
either addicted to drugs, got the no father in the house,
All the tropes.
all the tropes. Black Panther took that like out.
I didn't see that in Black Panther.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
really-
there was none of that. You ain't had nobody cooked up on drugs. Nobody like trying to be like, you know, the
Cloud chasing race type stuff. bro.
crowd chasing, yup. Even like the depiction of the woman was positive. They're strong warriors. You know, the woman in some of these.
They weren't They weren't in this position where the director would put it that you'd be pitying them. There's no pity involved. There's just reverence.
Dang, that's well put.
Because
Yeah.
most film with black women are derogative.
I would challenge that. I don't believe that.
So
That might be a generalization.
That's
but
quite the
something-
generalization, man.
But that's something to say. That's something to say.
You don't
That's,
see derogative.
I could see derogatory images of any type of person in every type of medium, but
But
I would
there's-
say it's more common for black women to be framed in media in a way that might be derogative, but I would not go so far as to say that black women in general are just derogatively acting and presented in television. But I will say that the stories that are crafted around black characters in general always has this caveat of we had to hustle. And there's almost this you're romanticizing the struggle. You're romanticizing
I fall into
the
that.
hustle.
Yeah.
And that's a broken thing that I see kind of played on. And these tropes we're talking about, these top pair movies and so on and so forth. I don't want to get too far off the superhero topic because I got a lot to say about Static Shock. I got a lot to say about the comic book characters that never even see the animation, let alone the big screen. We're gonna get there. But I'm just saying, in general, like black faces on television I feel like I would see times where they would get the dynamic, a little bit more like true to life. Like black people are dynamic. You can't put us in two boxes like this is the proper suburb black and then hood black. There's so much like that's so saddening to be limited to such things because it's not like one does not exist without another and they don't have to exist in tandem either.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off, brother. Keep it going. Keep it going, bro.
Episode 10, World of Controversy podcast.
I got a lot to say.
We are here in a new studio over here. We got J-Rob, we got Germ, and we got a good guest. We got Jason. We're talking about black superheroes, and we're talking about China Anne McClain. Julian?
All right. So, when it comes to like black superheroes, I'm about to go into this, right? Now, we had Luke Cage, 2 seasons, and then it was done. Now, not everything was Luke, like the show's fault. We also know about the disagreement that Disney and Netflix had too, as well. So, I understand both sides of that too.
Reasons why I got canceled weren't so like malicious or almost premeditated, but they were just unfortunate.
It was unfortunate. I mean, the Netflix Marvel shows that Netflix had Daredevil, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Defenders, Punisher. Well, Netflix didn't own any of the characters.
They just owned the means of production.
Means for production. And they was paying for them to use them characters.
Yeah.
Which did help with their original contents. Especially Daredevil.
Just being able to expand the catalog, and it was kind of a beneficial partnership. But with Disney Plus on the rise, a lot of those partnerships had to either had to adjust or just cease altogether. And unfortunately, you could say that was Luke Cage. And I know Jeremy was gonna go into like what's this the ceasing of black characters. It's almost like they're kind of like black comic book characters. They're sprouting up for the first time on a live action platform, which is not common. Can I emphasize that? This is a new thing. This is a this decade thing.
Yep.
Definitely. I mean, Luke Cage was the first. Luke Cage came before we had Black Panther. Before we had Black Lightning.
Really?
Yes. Luke Cage came 2016
Yeah.
was Luke Cage, the first season. Beginning of 2018 was Black Lightning King.
Mm-hmm.
Then later, what was it? February 2018 was when Black Panther, the film, came out. And then we had our second season of Luke Cage in like March that year.
Right. So look like Marvel making money on black people.
Wow. Black Lightning.
My question is, are these black characters black owned?
No.
Okay.
They're not. And that's my point. Honestly, I think the greatest black superhero might be flipping Word Girl and Medea. Because Medea is actually owned by a black person.
Medea is not a black superhero.
What
and
I'm
Word
trying to
Girl
say is that we're almost like got this weird thing with representation. You know what I mean? And more power to China, more power to what's the boy that played Black Panther who died, R.I.P.
Chadwick
Boseman. He played James Brown. He played a lot of good roles, but you know what I mean? He did do Black Panther. Black Panther's a great movie. I just want to say, and black people did get the bag. Don't think that I'm saying that black people aren't getting paid. Black people are indeed getting paid for these roles, and they're getting paid for writing. But who's owning the means to production? Yo, we really gotta own this stuff.
I gotta challenge you.
Let me handle this. Let me handle this real fast before you jump in. Bro, all right. I know where you're going with this, right? But look, how many times we have watched black people play the sidekick to a white superhero, bro? We are not the sidekicks. We are not made just to be sidekicks. And another thing is, if you want a black superhero show, right, owned by black people,
Okay.
you want that? How about you write one? I mean, we can do this.
Okay. First,
we got this.
Okay, you're right.
We got the technology. We got everything.
Okay, and you're right. I can own it, but I want to be very clear with your sidekick thing. Why do we have to see ourselves as these darn people on TV? Man,
Because I'm not understanding your argument.
Hold on.
My thing is, why do we have to see ourselves in everybody on TV? Why do we have to make some type of argument that our kids gonna have to grow up? Oh man, they gotta grow up seeing a black superhero. Who the heck did that help? The Jews ain't see no Jewish superheroes, and look at them. I'm serious.
The Jews
Can I counter that?
owns a lot of stuff.
Because here's my thing. Why do we have to see ourselves all the time as people on TV? There are people literally up and down our communities doing great work. There's activists, there's business owners, there's people all up
Because
and down.
nobody knows about them.
And the thing is, for some reason, we got our kids on TV, and we got our kids watching TV as if everyone on TV is not only a role model, but it's somehow how the populist society views black people. That's not true. If we're really calling the art form that is television and film an art form, then let the artists portray that type of art. Why? For some reason, we can't get into our mind that they're not trying to put any type message into these films. You know what I'm trying to say?
The media controls a lot of the narrative, okay? So what
narrative?
I
people
resist
view
this broad idea of
Who
this
is the
broad
people?
media that's so devious, because I don't think it's that simple. I think there are different productions, there are different teams working on different stories, and I like what you were saying, Jerem, about how you meant that that we had like, oh, why do we need to have it? I don't believe we need to have it, but it's the idea. Hear me out. It's the idea of this, right? So in our communities, like, I don't need to watch TV for me to know what it's like to be black.
Right.
But in this case, representation is partially for us, but it's partially not for us. Because you could definitely say that a lot of the issues that we might have systemically or with prejudice has to do with what people know. People only know what they've told or have experienced. That is true. And if all they've experienced, especially up in them locations, because like honestly, there are not a lot of black people in this country. We're like 1/10 of the population, bro. We're in like DC, New York, Miami, Philadelphia, and like 6 other places, bro. And then after that, it's pretty like spread out. We're like these tiny little specks here and there. And our culture will get diluted, for the sake of preservation of culture, for the sake of representation of our culture, so that we're not dumbed down and watered down to a stereotype, especially in a time period in the last 25, 30 years where we are not properly able to hand down the good things in our culture because of the dismantling of the black household. It is important for the representation, not of us for us, but of us for all people, so that we can slowly start to dismantle the prejudices that get hardened and solidified and then put into the policies that direct our lives today. I just went off. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you really went off.
That's something to think about. There's a lot in there. Dang, I don't even got nothing to say on that.
And we were talking about superheroes, and I'm like, yes, we don't need to have these people on our screen, but them being on our screen and in a way that's not limiting, but is actually giving us space to expression is important. Art is important. Like, people are constantly talking about expression and art and my fashion sense and this and that. That is in media. And in the context of the last couple of years, we have been blessed, bro. We have been blessed in a lot of capacities. And I think we're in a time period where we're demanding a lot, but we don't realize actually how much we have. Way back in the day, we had a lot of good black TV shows. I'm seeing all these throwbacks on the screen. We had a good drought where, honest to goodness, a lot of the black faces I've seen on TV in the last 15 years have been in reality television, so-and-so house, basketball housewives, all that. And it's all of it. It's dramatizing.
Actually, black is different.
It's dramatizing a lot of the things.
Shows are, I'm sorry.
No, you good. I feel like it's just dramatizing a lot of the things that you can see in black culture, but if you limit it to that, then you make black culture this very how do I say this, dramatized eccentricness. But there's a lot of calms before these big like spikes of just like, there's more to black women than long nails and drama about so and so cheating on this other person. But these housewife shows or even one of my least favorite shows on television, Maury. Man, oh man. Not everybody's out here.
That's the biggest Maury fan on planet.
I do not like that show at all. I do not like that show. I do not. My grandma loved that show. My grandma don't speak English. She's translating it. She's sitting there like, ooh, what this guy do? And I'm out here like, it's translating for my grandmother. And I'm out here like, well, you see, grandma, this guy cheated on her.
Right.
With his sister, with her sister, and I'm like, all these different things, and all this is like, oh, let's take this hot story, let's take that hot story, let's take this hot story, and next thing you know, that's what's in my mind, and then there's this idea of what is the Negro, and that's what's put on media, and then we get back to the idea of representation. What are people seeing when they look at us? What crosses the mind? Because all the brain does is make associations, brother.
Right.
That's how we learn to understand the world. So if we can provide representations that would dilute these negative depictions, then they wouldn't be able to make a quick judgment. Right. They would sit here and realize that we are not this uniform, individual, but we are also a diverse people. So now it's not just like, oh, this black person, he definitely listens to this person. This person definitely listens to Lil Durk and Lil Yachty, like, oh, he definitely banged with J. Cole, because what black person doesn't like J. Cole? I like J. Cole too. I'm not gonna hold you. But there's a lot more to black people than these depictions. Whether they're positive or negative, they're positive depictions like, oh, black people are good at dancing. Honest to goodness, music and dance is a huge part of black culture. But where there's more to us than that, there's more to me being the person that turns up the party. There's more to me being the person with the witty little jokes. There's more to me than being the sassy black friend. There's more to me than that black angry dude. Period. Can I be educated without it being talking white? And can you be uneducated without it being, are you talking black or you ghetto? Like, can we separate these things? And I'm actually going to bring this. I'm sorry I'm just dominating this stuff, but last thing I really want to say, another gem. Black, not Black Lightning, but I would say Static Shock.
Okay.
Black owned show, black cast. Okay. And honest to goodness, it wasn't this I'm black and I can do lightning stuff. It's just like, I'm a person.
Yes.
I'm in my neighborhood.
Yes.
This is what my neighborhood's like. These are struggles that are in my neighborhood,
Yep.
but it's not like, there are different types of households. There are different types of families. There are different types of struggles. There are different types of things that people are afraid of, and they put all of that in a story. And they didn't make it about like, they didn't pull the black card like, oh, it's because I'm black, da da da. Like,
Right.
it's just
Right.
like, this is who I am, this is where I am, this is how I live, and these are the places in the that I want to go to, and in the ways that I want to grow. And I just love that. It was unapologetically itself, without having to prove something, without having to make a statement. It just was. It was what it was. We're getting cameos from Shaq. We're getting Lil Romeo working on the third theme song. Like, it's the type of stuff that we're just like, yo, this is a vibe. Like, this is made by black people.
Yeah.
I can comment on Static Shock because I grew up on Static
I'm
Shock.
done, man.
What you gotta say, man?
Man, Static Shock was a great show, man. Remember the theme song? They had two different theme songs.
There was one where it was like, gotta go.
It was one with
Gotta
a
go.
hip hop, and then there was another.
They were
one-
both hip hop. They're just different beats. You wanna put it on?
No, we ain't gonna put it on, yo. But Static Shock was just, and it showed a lot of stuff with even like Static being a young black boy. Even though this is like an animated, like cartoon show, you know, like you said before, it never made it to live stream, like
Live action, yeah.
live action.
And that's a recent privilege.
Which is everybody been asking for it too. There was rumors that Static Shock was going to make an appearance in Black Lightning. I was waiting for that.
Even in Young Justice, he's mentored by Black Lightning.
Yeah, he was mentored because Black Lightning was before Static Shock. I remember.
They referenced Black Lightning in the first episode of Static.
Did they?
Yep, when he was trying out his first costume. One of
haven't
them,
watched
it would
that
heavily
in so long.
resemble the front-facing diagonal lightning strike. Yeah, just those kind of references that you have.
Yeah, because you know everybody knows Static Shock before Black Lightning. You know the show came out.
Know it, right.
Everybody knew Static Shock, but a lot of people did not know Black Lightning.
Yes, sir. Because Black Lightning was for the old heads.
He was
in the
for the
comics.
comics because I remember like hearing about Black Lightning before the show even came out. What was it like? Alright, the show came out 2018. I heard about Black Lightning like 5 years before the show. And did a little research. I'm like, oh man, this guy was before Static Shock, but it's exactly the same as Static Shock.
I won't say exactly the same.
Alright, then
Like Black Man with lightning powers, but they're completely different. Static Shock was a teenager, and Black Man had a whole family.
But they was the same, like as in power.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They're
Really?
the same.
Sir.
Now, of course, Black Lightning had the whole family. You know, Jefferson Pierce. He's a beacon to the community. He, you know,
And it's not just about being a hero, but his day job was actively advocating.
Yes, it was.
his day job. He was the principal of a high school.
Yeah.
In the first season,
Yeah.
he was the principal. He was doing stuff for the community. He had to give up his life as a superhero to try to be for his family. A black man, you got a positive black man in a role, raising his two daughters,
Being a community role model.
being a community role model. You don't have too many positive, well, how about in the modern times, I'm gonna say, not too many positive black father figures in these type of shows, in these type of movies. So that's why representation is important. See, a lot of times, and you know the stuff they say about black fathers. Black fathers, black people don't want to be fathers. They walk out on their kids. No good, nothing.
Honest to goodness, like, there are a lot of temptations that any person has to do any number of evil or any number of negligence. White, black, there are white fathers who leave their families.
Yes, there are.
There
But
are.
you know what
Yes,
it
there
is?
are.
This is why I'm going back to representation being important. You're gonna put a lot of, when you normalize that in the media, like, oh, it's just part of our hustle. Don't romanticize the struggle, brother. Do not romanticize the struggle, because when you do that, when it finally comes at a point where a black man has to be a father, he's like, man, do I step up? And it was like, everybody else, even in the music, bragging about like, oh, I got all these baby mamas and I just leave them because I'm savage like that, so on and so forth. don't you think that's just an extra push in the wrong direction? And I'm not saying it's the source of the problem. I would never say that media representation is the source of any problem, but I would definitely say it's a push in the wrong direction if you are in a position where you could fall if you're pushed.
I agree.
And so I'm not saying, oh yeah, cut out your storytelling, because it's something that's happening and it's something that exists, and those art forms and those stories deserve and need to be told, but they need not be the only type of stories that are told. Because there are more stories than no stories.
Yes.
Correct.
Another thing with Black Lightning, though.
Correct.
It hit on a lot of issues Black people was going through. You know, being killed by police. And Luke Cage hit on some of that a little bit too. But Black Lightning goes a little more deeper than Luke Cage. Especially like, it's made more seasons. I mean, we about to have the 4th season coming out. But hitting on stuff like crooked politicians, us being killed by police.
Yeah,
we're tired of still marching. We've been doing this for 60 years since MLK and still ain't going nowhere.
Tired of fitting the description.
Tired of fitting the description, yes.
Yep.
You know, and then you got the hood, the drugs being passed,
right.
Green light. Come get this green light.
Right.
So there's a lot of good stuff put into the show, and it shows like a lot of good representation.
So I hear you on all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any coonery within this show? You know where I'm going.
So, bro,
you want to know I had to hit
Tread lightly, brother.
Yo,
I did not watch the show.
So you want to ask, was there any coonery, right?
All this police brutality getting put in the show and all this stuff. I'm just saying we gotta watch some of these subliminal messages. So was there any episode per se where any type of coonery happened where maybe this or that, or maybe let's say somebody was working with this person or that? I'm trying to figure it out. I ain't watched the show. I want to know.
How about this? I got an episode where Jefferson Pierce called out the coonery.
Really?
Really?
Oh, I gotta watch this show.
Lay it out for us, brother.
I gotta watch that.
Okay. How far you made it in the show?
I made it towards the end of the 1st season, but I dropped it because of school, and I never got back on it because the hustle was real.
Oh, man. Jeez. I didn't make it to the second. All right, so. All right, in the 2nd season. Because I only watched 2 seasons. I got to start season 3. But, all right. This episode. Because after what he did, and I'm sorry, it's going to be spoiler alert. If anybody did not watch it, and I'm sorry, it's going to be spoilers for you.
Cool, bro. I got it, man.
All right. So, basically, when he left the school, right? With his family. Because you made it to the end, right?
Yeah.
All right. And remember he had, they was tracking him? Okay. So, in the 2nd season, beginning of the 2nd season, they're determining on whether to keep him as the principal or not. So, he was fighting. And one of the black dudes that was on the board, I forgot what he was trying to get him to leave the position, and he was trying to be the mediator for, the white people and the black, right? Jefferson. Jefferson called him out. He's like, oh, what are you there, blacksmith now?
Oh, I might have to watch this show.
And I was like,
oh, how about that?
And that joint had me like, whoa.
Listen, I'm about to get some popcorn and put my feet up.
Look at the CW. Oh, how about that? I might have to watch some Black Lightning.
I appreciate some good writing because I need it not be predictable.
Yes.
And when that happened, I'm like, whoa, he called him out on the country.
That's some good wordplay.
And then the dude was like, oh, you call me a house nigga now? Now it's like, yo.
Alright, so I gotta watch this as soon as I'm done with this show. No, hold up. Under Black Lightning was good, but good gracious. No, wait a minute. The CW let that joint fly like that?
Oh, yes, it did.
2020, brother. There's a lot of things happening. You're like, let's let this joint ride out. Because we've been dealing with a very strange type of censorship in the last 5-10 years.
Yes.
Like,
this is
a
almost
strange type of censorship. That's some stuff I watch in cartoons 2000, 2001, 2002. That don't fly anymore. I used to watch I'm 22 years old. I'm out here a grown man watching Static Shock. That's until I'm like vibing. I'm like, man, yo, this writing is so cool. Yo, they don't even waste time introducing villains. They just throw them notes in there.
Hey, they watched the episode of Static Shock. Remember his friend Virgil? You remember that episode?
Virgil is Static Shock's name.
I mean, not Virgil.
Reggie.
Yeah, Reggie. You know what I meant. I'm like all over the place right now. Yeah, you're right. My head is all over the place. But remember his white friend? Wasn't there an episode where like
his dad was racist?
Racist?
Yeah.
That was the first form of racism.
And
he had as a young kid.
It was so straightforward. He was just like, Dad, I'm so sick of you and your racism. And I'm like, well, he's pretty straightforward about this. And he left the house and he was frustrated. He was like, Dad, you're getting in the way of my friendship with my friend. I'm not friends with Virgil because he's black. I'm friends with him because we're both nerds. And we're both nerds. We both like comics. We're both really good at school. We both vibe with these different things. And we both super into superheroes. Yeah. And, Virgil heard what the father said about him through the door and left. Because Virgil was over at that guy's house for a sleepover. And after that, they confronted that. And Virgil's father actually had a conversation with Reggie's father in that episode and actually confronted that.
I remember that.
And they confronted that. He was just like, what is it about my boy that makes you think this, second, and the third? He's like, I don't know, bad influences. It was like, well, why don't you get to know him? And it's straightforward. It doesn't have to be carefully packaged. It's very right in your face. And not every episode, because a lot of times black representation gets chalked up to a public service announcement. And that wasn't the case. That was later in the end of season 1, mind you. The whole show in and of itself was exploring Virgil Hawkins, Reggie, Daisy, all the different characters in their school setting, being students, being people, learning about themselves, growing as characters, dealing with, it's a show about people for people, but as a show about people, it deals with conflict, and it dealt with it beautifully. Right. And that's where I go back to it's important that we have these faces, because a lot of the black, Luke Cage, Black Lightning, and Black Panther, 3 of those very good examples of shows that made it. There are dozens of black characters that people don't even know about. No one's ever out here talking about Spawn. No one's out here talking about all these comics. They have their own. They're not side characters. They are their own characters in their own respective comics. Blade, and they get because you know why? Getting to the big screen is a privilege. If it gets to the big screen, it has the potential to become a household name. It has the potential to be normalized. It has the potential to change a narrative in people's minds that gets put into the way people vote and the way people make policies, which affects people's day to day. And that's why representation is super important to me. Well, say what you want to say, brother.
Episode 10, World of Controversy podcast. My name is Germ Griffin. We're here with Julian and Rob, and we got really good guests. We got Jason. We've been talking about black superheroes. Wow, man. Representation.
Popping off in the cut.
Representation is important. But maybe.
I understand resisting a public service announcement vibe and the black card vibe, but it doesn't have to.
I just think I've always been more focused on reality, and making sure us as a black populace does not let these white supremacists get away with BS just because there's a ton of positive black faces on television. And I want to be very clear about this. There were, I don't know if anyone knows this, but white people own plantations.
Okay, bro.
And black people were the one working them.
Bro, we all know that
ownership is a very important thing, okay? If no one knows what slavery was, white people owned the plantation. I don't know if anyone knew that, but it wasn't black people. You know what I mean? So I want to be very clear about that. So, you know what I mean? We ain't on the plantations. African Americans and black people. So I want to be very clear about ownership, and I want to be very clear about monetizing our own stuff. I think we talked about gatekeeping. We're gonna have a gatekeeping episode one day. Maybe we'll get Jason on because gatekeeping is so important. We talked about Disney trying to remake the Proud Family. It's gonna be.
Don't touch it.
They already in the works of it.
Yeah,
I already know what I'm gonna see because y'all about to
already announced it. Even
Kiki Palmer. She gonna be voicing the main character.
I mean, I can vibe with that, but I get so uncomfortable. Y'all gotta do an episode about adaptations of old things brought new, because a lot more often than not than they butcher. You know why? Because the person. Because when these art forms, and I love talking about art forms and mediums of storytelling. Okay. These mediums of storytelling have a vision, and in general, they're trying to tell a story. And in telling these stories, the vision merges with the story and gets a point across. And when someone else takes that and does not respect the original vision, and they only treat it as a cash cow, oh, black people love this, we're gonna adaptate that, John. Right, and then they're gonna show and watch it, but they're not gonna respect the heart of it. They're not gonna respect the culture. They're not gonna keep in mind that it's a dynamic, and go back to the dynamic culture that is African American culture and black culture in America. I'm just talking about America. It's dynamic, and those shows reflected that well at those times. I'm not sure if the people who are going to be managing this, for me, valuable merchandise are going to treat it with care.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing about when they reboot stuff. I'm about to go in this real quick. So basically, when they reboot it, you already know it's done for money. There's the whole thing. If y'all ever watched the Animaniacs, you know they rebooted that on Hulu, right? Yeah. They had a whole song on that first episode. I watched it. Oh my gosh, they exposed everything in the film industry about rebooting the shows. Yo, I was like, respectful. And I was like, oh my gosh, they just exposed everything.
Animaniacs known for making fun of its own.
And then gotta love a self-aware piece of storytelling.
And I'm looking at it like, oh man, this is true. This is everything we see today. But all right, we're gonna have to end this episode. This was a great talk. Thank you, Jason, for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you, Jason.
It's a privilege.
It's a privilege. All right, Black superheroes. We're gonna get back and maybe have another episode about this too, because I feel like I want to talk more stuff about it. But as next time, you're gonna see us. Don't got a topic right yet, but you'll see us next time.
See us in 2021.
2021.